Hello, everybody. My name is Mark Fortin for Michigan Matters. It's October 15th, 2025, and we got a very special guest here today, a fantastic candidate in District 59, Shelby Township in North Macomb. Jean Zott is with us, and we'd like to talk about a few things. And first of all, I'd like to just ask how the campaign's going.
It's going good. It is extremely early, as you know, because the primary is not till August of 2026. But as a grassroots candidate, I want to get in early because I want to get to know the voters better. It's very important to me to know what's important to the people of the state of Michigan and the priorities for my district. So getting in early is the best way to do that so that I can...
Yeah. It's kind of an open seat, too, isn't it?
Yes. I believe it's going to be an open seat. I did run before. I ran in the last election. I had heard news that the current rep, which is Doug Wozniak, he's a very well-liked representative in Shelby Township. I heard that he was retiring. That was not correct information. He did not retire, but I was already full-fledged into my campaign. So I just went forward with it, and it was a great experience. It was a good learning experience. But Doug and I go to the same church right now, or we have been going to the same church, but we go to different times. And I did talk to him several times already, and he has said that he is going to be running for a different position. And just waiting for him to announce that to confirm it. But I wanted to get in early, again, so that I can get to know the voters and they can get to know me. And also the other people in Michigan. Because one thing that candidates never talk about is that when you're a representative, you are representing your district, but you are working for the entire state. So the decisions that you're making affects everybody in the state, but you're representing the priorities of your district.
That's true.
So,
and you're also representing people across the state who really aren't represented. I mean, if you live in the city of Detroit, or maybe Flint or something like that, odds are you have nothing but Democrat representation, and you're conservative. So the only people speaking for you are conservatives and or / Republicans in other areas. They're the ones, you know what I'm trying to say?
Well, I think I do. I think you're talking about how I think a lot of people in those areas are, they've always voted for Democrats their whole life. And they have this preconceived notion that Republicans don't care about people that are lower income or middle income, that we're all about big business. That is not true. I am deeply passionate about the poor, and I am a CPA, which is something that is not, there's none in the House or the Senate right now. A certified public accountant, my major job, my whole career has been to save people money. And I didn't really care if you were a millionaire or if you were making minimum wage. I worked for Michigan's largest produce company in the state of Michigan, Joe Randazzo's Fruit and Vegetable in Detroit. So I was driving down there a couple of times a week for 30 years. And my experience down there gives me a broad view of what it's like to deal with the state, the feds, the city of Detroit. And I have a lot to say about that.
I bet you do.
Yes.
And you mentioned the poor.
Yes.
People think Republicans don't care about the poor. I say the opposite. The Democrats don't. They tax us to death and that kind of thing. We have the Michigan Public Service Commission that regulates how much we pay our utilities. The poor pay utilities too.
Yes, and it's unfortunate because the way that's structured, it's a very small group of people that decide on whether your rates, they approve rate increases. And Michigan is basically a monopoly at this point. There's only two major companies. Now in the gas area, I'll want to be transparent. You do have some choices for gas in Michigan. But you would have to go to the Michigan website and you can price compare. But just recently, right after the Michigan big budget was approved, this $80 billion budget, the state of Michigan approved an increase of $157 million for consumer energy, which comes out to about $6.44 per month. per household, or an 8.1% increase. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot, but to somebody that is struggling to pay their gas bill, it is a lot. And this is also in addition to an increase we had in March from DTE for electricity.
Yes.
I think this commission has approved rate increases like 18 times in the last several
all they
years.
do. They don't defend the people at all.
When you don't have affordable energy, you are not going to thrive. Michigan is losing the energy. The energy landscape, I guess you would call it. Businesses are leaving Michigan because the energy is high.
We all go to LED bulbs
Yes.
to save energy. We have windmills to save energy. We have solar panels to save energy, and our electric bills are sky high.
Yes,
And they keep going higher. It's a scam. The whole thing is a scam. And I'd like to see something done about it in Lansing.
yes, and so would I, because if you want to have a thriving economy, you need affordable energy, and we do not have that right now. And if you care about the poor, you want to have affordable energy. And one of the things I talk about a lot when I'm speaking is Michigan and the federal government in the past keeps making things more expensive, and then we have to have programs to help people that can't afford what we just made expensive.
That's right.
So it's like this hamster wheel, and so who pays for that? The middle class, and of course, the wealthy individuals pay for it. But what it's doing is it's driving people out of Michigan.
Absolutely.
It's not making it attractive. So we really need to get a handle on our energy policy in Michigan, and it has to be a multi-layer. You mentioned wind and solar. I don't have an issue with either one of them. I do have an issue with the big subsidies, but Michigan has a D rating in solar.
That's right.
So throwing all your, eggs in
It's
the
a
basket
scam.
of solar isn't going to work. We don't have that many days that are
So China,
energy efficient.
Yeah, China sells us all this stuff, but they use coal to produce their electricity because they're smart. And we are not. We've got this communist system whereby they're using green to enslave us all and raise prices and enslave us all economically. And it's all a big scam.
Well,
And it's disgusting.
in my studies of energy, the most important thing for energy is to have your grid be stable. And wind and solar is not a stable energy for your grid. It depends on wind and sunlight. So Trump recently, I don't know if it was Trump or not, but we're opening up a nuclear facility in Michigan right now, which I know a lot of people are afraid of nuclear. It is the safest, cleanest energy. Maybe not the safest, but it is a safe,
Well, the
clean.
technology's really improved over the years since we've done them in the past.
But you know what? People are afraid. You say nuclear, they are afraid because we know of the catastrophes we've had in the past. But we have to have a multi-layer
Yes.
approach to energy. And I've been watching the energy policy just be a complete failure
It's a
in
disaster
Michigan.
in Michigan.
Recently, Ohio passed some new legislation. Ohio's energy is 10 to 15% less than Michigan. So when I say businesses are leaving the state of Michigan because of our energy policy, well, if you have a more attractive energy policy in another state, that is a driving force. That goes on top of all the other things that we are dealing with in Michigan, which education is one. Our third graders are 60% are not reading at the level that
right.
they're supposed to be reading at.
It's been going on for years, and nobody
Yes.
wants to address it, but except add more money to the education system. That
Well,
they'll do in a heartbeat.
Yes, and even higher education. I saw in the budget that they gave them a 4 to 5% bump. We need to start looking at making that more affordable, and that involves trimming some of the budget in the higher education at the administrative level. That's not part of the classroom. And the reason why I'm talking about higher education, because we just mentioned third graders, I just saw a proposal that they want to make a mandatory program or class for teachers to be able to teach reading. Now, as a parent that put two kids through college, if I had put one of my kids through college in the teaching area, if they wanted to be a teacher and they spend 4 years in college, at Michigan State or U of M, spending thousands and thousands of dollars, and then an unpaid student teaching gig. and now they get out and they don't know how to teach kids how to read. Okay, that's not the teacher's fault. That's the college's fault.
That's right.
So what is going on there that we have to have a mandatory program that we have to pay for, the taxpayers would have to pay for, because we can't tell public teachers, hey, you got to reach into your pocket and pay for this. So it's just one thing after another that we keep running into in the state of Michigan with our policies, that people aren't looking down the road per se.
Almost all of our policies are a failure. We've got such a government in Michigan, it's unbelievable.
Well, and I was happy to see that the budget did trim back the MEDC, because that has been one of the biggest failures. I just read the other day that this one company that they gave $70 million to is wrapping things up, and again, they're going to close shop.
Walking away with the money. Our money.
Yeah, or they just lose it. But what's interesting about this company, it's a battery company, is the state of Michigan already gave the same guy that owns this company, which it was under a different company name before. They gave him $70 million last time, but a couple years ago they gave him $140 million. So, okay, why are we giving the same guy money when he failed the first time? The MEDC is just not good at picking winners or losers.
No, because it's not about that. It's all about socialism. It's about control. It's about sucking as much out of the economy as you can. And it's a crying shame. It should be outlawed and banned and gotten rid of along the Economic Development Corporation. Is terrible. Always has been. And
well, our business policy in general, for example, now I'm not a cannabis user, but it is legal in Michigan right now. And the new budget is using a new tax on cannabis to fund the roads. And the cannabis industry right away is challenging this. But one of the things that I didn't like about the tax structure of the cannabis industry in general was they had this revenue sharing that they do with municipalities. Now, I don't know what it was for 24, but the year before, maybe it was 23, every single cannabis store that had a license with Michigan got a revenue sharing from the state of like $90,000. So why didn't they pull that back? Because we don't pay bakers. We don't give them money to open up a bakery.
No, we don't.
We don't give restaurants money to open up a restaurant. But we were giving marijuana stores money for opening up a marijuana store. We were rewarding the municipalities, which is basically incentivizing cities and townships to open up marijuana businesses, because then they can get this extra revenue. We're number one in the country now in cannabis consumption. That's nothing to be proud of.
Nope, not at all.
But the way we're taxing it is it's not appropriate either. We're treating it like this special business. And I know Governor Whitmer came out and said, hey, the taxes aren't as high as alcohol and cigarettes. I mean, is this what we're betting on? Is taxing everything?
Yep. Allowing anything as long as it's taxed.
So, marijuana industry is now challenging this tax that's coming up. It amounted to almost a 40% tax now on marijuana, because they already have a 10% excise tax, and this one is another 24, so that brings it up to 34, and a 6% sales tax, so that's a 40% tax on marijuana. This kind of attack on a business, which again, I can't believe other businesses didn't stand up, because
you'd think they'd all be mad.
Other businesses should be mad because they targeted one sector of the economy. It's not fair. It's not fair, and it's and as if you were an owner of a cannabis business, you're like, well, what did I do? It's because it's a sin tax.
And members of the Michigan House and Senate have no clue about all of these issues. No clue on how to fix any of them.
Well,
a bunch of useless.
Well, some of them do know, because I talked to some of them. It's just who's yelling the loudest nowadays seems to be how things get done. They did include in the budget no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. I'll probably be posting some information about those two issues, because it's not just everybody. You can't say, oh, I don't work for pay anymore, just tip me. There's certain segments of society that it applies to, and there's rules, but it's just going to follow the rules of the federal government. Now, Michigan advertised, we're not going to tax Social Security, but we didn't tax Social Security to start. So I'm a little bit perplexed on why we were touting that as a success.
Because they're bragging on it like they're doing us a favor.
It was already not taxed. But one of the things that Michigan, we keep saying we want businesses to come here. What they did is they decoupled the business incentives that the federal bill had from Michigan, which means that they said, well, we're not going to do what the federal government's doing. So one of the things the federal government in the federal budget is we're going to give these bonus depreciation to businesses. So if you buy a $100,000 piece of equipment, you're a business owner, at the federal level, you can deduct that whole cost in 1 year. So this frees you up. You don't have to write that purchase off over 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. There's different rules for different kinds of equipment and improvements in buildings and that. Michigan's saying, well, we're not going to do that. We're going to say that you have to go by the old rules. So it's considered an add back on the corporate tax. Well, that's not an incentive for businesses to come here. So I know some of this stuff is a little complicated for people, but that's why myself, as a CPA, as somebody that was formerly a controller of a large business, a large family-owned business, and knows the struggles, I know what other legislators do not know. I know how this affects business and how it affects cash flow and also how it affects individuals. And it's something we need to pay.
The Democrats are socialists, so knowledge of business they're not interested in business. And then recently, a few months ago, Mercedes-Benz announced they're moving 400 employees out of Detroit to Texas. While people are coming from around the world building factories in America now because of Trump's tariffs, if you and I owned a business, if we owned a car manufacturer, and we decide, Trump's tariffs, so we're going to build a factory in America. There's 50 states in America. Why would somebody with a brain choose Michigan to build a factory when they have 49 other states to pick?
Yeah, we don't need to give them money to do that. We just need to clean up our policy.
That's right.
And as a candidate, I'm here to tell you, I am well educated on the terrible policies that we have that are driving business out of this state.
Yeah.
And I hope to talk to you more about that,
We
Mark.
will. We're going to have to get together because there's a lot of issues.
Yes.
And we're going to have to talk about them because people have to be made aware of what's going on in Michigan and why our economy is so crummy, why our children leave to other states, all this kind of stuff.
Yes, and I think, I'm not going to make promises like a lot of candidates that say, I'm going to get there and I'm going to change this and I'm going to change that. I'm going to try to change those, and I'm going to be a loudmouth. And I am, although I am not a career politician, I am somebody that will speak up, whether I'm in office or not. So I just would know I would be more effective if I was in office. So please come to my website, Jean Zott for Michigan. I'm also on Facebook. And I hope that you learn more about my campaign and learn that I am an incredibly qualified candidate. I am not a career politician. And you've got several months to learn more about my campaign, and I'm just looking forward.
Thanks for being here.
To meeting you and talking with you more. And thank you, Mark. This is a pleasure to talk to you. And
Thank you.
Hey, let's go. Michigan is a beautiful state, and we need to keep it that way.